Hey there everyone, welcome to another Skynamic tutorial. Today is May 13th, 2018. It's 5:07 p.m. Eastern, and this is going to be our 8th and final Adobe Flash tutorial, or at least the final in this planned tutorial series. We might have a few more Adobe Flash tutorials in the future for other things, but this is pretty much it, folks. So thank you so much for being here with me today. It's good to finally get this 8th one out there. So what exactly are we going over today? Well, today is the 8th lecture in this Adobe series, as I mentioned previously. And last tutorial, which was our 7th tutorial in this series, it was just a very, very big lecture on the Flash animation pipeline as a whole. Just a lot of theory, a lot of advice, a lot of tips, and a lot of examples. Today is all about how do we put that advice to practical use. So what we'll be covering today is a demo. I'll be demonstrating 4 things for you guys. I'll be demonstrating how to animate head turns, how to animate dialogue and facial expressions, how to puppet pose our rigid puppet and break it apart and force it to match a drawing that was done traditionally. And then finally, how can we go about tweening in between already existing key poses, which is basically the 4 fundamental things you need to know as a puppet animator. And I'll be doing all that for you guys just in front of you today. But just keep in mind that what I'm showing you guys today is my approach. There's so many different ways of approaching puppet animation, as is evidenced by our crew and everybody's weird ways of going about puppets. So I'm showing you my method. Doesn't mean that it's the right one, doesn't mean that it's the wrong one, it just means that it's one of those methods. And I get the feeling that we're going to have future tutorials added on as addendums to this series, where we go over a couple of the other methods that some of our other animators use, because it's some pretty cool stuff out there. So I'm going to be working in Adobe Animate today simply because it's better at animation, and I can't bring myself to go back to Flash CS6 to do animation. So let's start off with some key posing, because that's the first step. The first step is you've got this rigid puppet. This puppet that seemingly doesn't really bend or do anything. It's just spinning around. Doesn't feel like it can actually curve and do all these crazy things. And inside of that head symbol, you know, just like we learned in our rigging tutorials, we got all the head rigged and all the mouths in here and everything. So this is ready to go, but it can feel a little daunting to somebody who's never puppet animated before, especially somebody who might be used to traditional animation, where you just draw it. Well, that should probably be your first hint as to what you should be doing first. Normally, whenever I reach this stage as an animator, I turn the puppet off, and I don't even worry about the puppet. And instead, I'll look at the animatic and I'll look at the storyboards, and I'll start to sketch out and rough out my ideas first. And as it would happen, I actually have a whole bunch of sketches over here of Caleb. So I've grabbed these sketches from our other artists, from multiple stuff we've done in the past. I think a lot of these are actually from our TrueTale Prime animatic, because we're using the TrueTale Prime puppet for this particular tutorial series. So some great drawings in here. So ideally, this is what you'd want to start off with. You want to start off with some really nice drawings of the character as you do a rough key posed pass like we learned how to do last week. Now, the cleanliness of these drawings, it's debatable as far as how clean you need to go. It really depends on the animator. I know that even though I'm using these super clean ones for this particular tutorial, generally speaking, when I'm animating, I'm actually not the best at drawing cleanly. Usually what I'll wind up doing is, if I'm going to actually rough out my character, like for Caleb here, I'd probably only do something kind of like this, where I'd get the main shape of his stuff. Kind of like that. I get like a sort of where is he looking. And then I might kind of rough out the body a little bit and go for something very, very rough. And I'd really only do something like this. Now, I can get away with doing something like this because I've been puppet animating for a really, really long time, and I already know how this puppet is rigged and how I can move all the facial expressions and how I can make it look dynamic and appealing, especially because I'm one of the ones who helped build the puppet in the first place. But my advice, if you're a beginning puppet animator, would actually be to take the extra amount of time to really try your very best to get as clean of a sketch as you possibly can for that rough key pose that you're doing, that rough pose. These are probably like the extreme example. Never will you ever need a rough pose sketch that is cleaner than what we have on the screen right here. God help you if you do. No, these should be perfectly fine right here. So every time I teach this tutorial series, and I've taught this for, my God, like 4 years now, I'll always use a different one just because I like to test myself. So that I'm just going to try something new, something I haven't done before. Let's try this one down here. I've never done this one before. This one looks kind of cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and I might grab this. But then again, before I do that, what I should probably do is listen to the dialogue that I currently have in this scene. So for those of you that are watching the join.me session right now and are actually here watching this tutorial, you're not going to be able to hear any of this unless you go to the actual live stream itself and watch it via the live stream. And I've just pasted a link to that live stream in the Discord for you. Otherwise, the rest of you that are watching this recording later, you'll be able to hear it, so you're fine. So let's play this real fast.
I can't believe that worked.
All right, so we have Caleb sighing. Oh, I can't believe that worked.
I can't believe that worked.
All right, so let's find two poses in here. Two poses that feels like it would be Caleb going, oh, I can't believe that worked. I like this one down here. This has an I can't believe that worked feeling to it, like he's super happy. So I'm going to grab that and copy it and come back over here and go back into my master clip, and underneath the Caleb layer, I'm going to create a new layer and call this rough. I like to call it RUFF for funsies. I'm going to paste that in here just to have it. And if I turn my original Caleb puppet on real fast, I can sort of size this to match up with Caleb here. I think it'd be about like that. So now I got him sized correctly. Oh, I can't believe that worked. So if I were to find something else, since he is kneeling down right now, I could always just keep him in this pose the whole time. And then I would just do some animation with him. You know, maybe he wouldn't look as happy in the beginning. He'd be more sad and like, oh, like shocked. Oh, you know, like, what did he just do? And then I can't believe that worked would be this final pose here. But I'm not going to be animating this entire thing for you guys anyways. This is meant to be just a demo, so I'll just use this one as my little example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this rough, and I'm going to kind of move it into position here. And I'm going to pose this Caleb puppet to match that rough. So I'm going to lock the rough layer, go into my Caleb puppet layer, and now I can grab all my Caleb puppet parts and start to move things around. So what I like to do first is I just like to break everything away. I don't know, this is just my way of breaking down a puppet. Because I'm going to be breaking everything so much anyways, I don't want to limit myself to how the puppet is currently composed. It's just it's gonna trick you into thinking, oh, well, I'll just make this puppet sort of look like that. No. That's not the right way to think about it. You need to think of it as, I need to completely rebuild this puppet to match this pose. So when I do this, I'll usually start off with what is leading the action. Generally speaking, like 9 times out of 10, at least from my experience, that answer is usually the face. It is the face that is leading the action. It's the face that the audience is looking at, especially with a character like Caleb here, where where's Caleb? Like a good solid, nearly half. I'd say like 2/5 2/5 of his body is just his head. So, obviously, in most of the stuff he does, his head will be leading his action. But then again, if he was, like, punching someone, or if he was, like, swinging a baseball bat, I would do his hand first, or I would do the bat first, because that's what's leading the action. But for this particular thing, I'm going to go with this. So, he's sort of in a 3/4 view, so I might want to think about maybe grabbing his 3/4 head, which is actually going to be inside of his head here. So, maybe his reverse 3/4. But his reverse 3/4 head's a little too far over here. I think I could get away with just sticking with his front view and then just moving his facial features over a little bit, which is exactly what I'm going to do. So for now, I'm not going to worry about the facial features. I'm just going to get his head in the right spot. I think it's going to rotate a little bit, kind of like that. And something along the lines of this. So that is basically in the right spot for now. And again, this is my method. I know that there are many animators that would immediately go straight into his facial expressions right from here and get all of his facial expressions to match. But I don't know. I like to worry about one symbol at a time. And currently I'm inside of the Caleb master clip, which is all of his body parts. So usually I'll get all the body parts looking good first. Then I'll double click to go inside of the head and mess with all the head stuff and make all the facial expressions work to the body pose that I just posed out. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to set that to outline mode. That way I can still see the rough through his outline. And I'm going to start posing his body. So I work my way from the main body part backwards. So the head is what's leading the action. What's attached to the head? It's going to be his neck and torso. So I would mess with his neck and torso next. So what I would do is I would look at my sketch, I'd look at the torso, and I'd think, can I get away with using this existing torso, but maybe just enveloping it or tweaking the shape slightly? And what I mean by that is if I grab this guy and I move this over here, this guy is currently made up of a couple of different symbols. So what I might do is I might go ahead and just temporarily grab this neck piece right here and this body piece. And, well, let's just try this. Let me just grab his torso. And if I put his torso over here, I could double click to go inside of this and create a new keyframe on all 3 layers for his front view. Although I might want his 3/4 view instead. No, front view feels like the way to go. Now, you can select one layer, one keyframe, and with the transformation tool, or the free transform tool, down here at the very bottom of the toolbar, there's something called the envelope tool. Now, when you click on this envelope tool, these extra little pieces appear that you can then use to move and bend the already existing vector. And it's pretty cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all 3 of the layers. So I select his entire torso. And then I'll click on the envelope tool. But, you see how I can't click on it? It's not highlighted right now. The envelope tool usually will only work if you only have 1 frame selected. The moment you select 2 or more frames, suddenly the envelope tool just turns off and stops working. It's extremely frustrating. However, there is a workaround. I was trying not to swear there. Because the workaround doesn't make any sense. I don't know why it works this way. If you have all of the frames selected, turn off everything but one of the frames. I still have them selected, but I've turned them off. Now suddenly I can select the envelope tool. If I click it, it turns on the envelope tool. And now if I turn on the other layers, suddenly I still have all of them selected, but I now have the envelope tool and it will manipulate the whole thing. Why the hell this works has never made any sense to me. Never made any sense. I think it's a weird like programming glitch that the program has where it's not supposed to work but it does. And we have no idea why. And this is something that has existed since, like, Flash CS3. Like, Adobe is aware of the fact that this has always been a weird glitch, but they've never bothered to fix it because, I'll be honest with you, it'd be insanely hard to animate in this program if the glitch wasn't there. It's crazy, and I'll be like, I never knew that this glitch existed until I was hired by Floyd County Productions, and they were like, all right, you gotta bend the torso, and I'm like, how? Do I just redraw it? Because that's the way that I normally do it, and they're like, no, just use the envelope tool. And I was like, you can't. You guys are stupid. Why'd you hire me? And they're like, no, there's a trick. And then the guy showed me, and I was like, oh my god, you just blew my mind. How the hell is that even a thing? So yes. It's very, very stupid. But I'm going to see if I can get away with using the envelope tool to basically force Caleb's torso to match this sketch.
I got a question. Would it be easier to put it, like, in the outline mode?
Probably.
I don't know if that works.
No, it would.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I don't know. I'm used to doing it with all the colors. It's
Gotcha.
it's just up to you. So, oh. Ah, no, I deselected it. Ah, damn it. Every single time you deselect, you're basically stuck with what you got. So I'd have to undo everything and go back. Like, I could force this. I could force this to actually match his sketch, but I'll be honest with you, I don't want to. Because I feel like I could get a more dynamic one if I just went ahead and drew it myself. I could force it, but I'm just going to redraw it. So to redraw it, I'm just going to delete these frames and basically have some blank frames here. And I'm not even going to bother separating them out into different pieces. I'm just going to draw a new one right here. So whenever I draw in a new part, I like to use red as the brush. And I like to leave it at red. And I'm just going to draw it real fast. I'm not going to worry about it being perfect. I just want it to match the shape. Alright, and then before I go any further, I want to go back to the original torso just to make sure that I'm actually drawing it correctly. What I might even do is I might turn on my envelope. And, oh, sorry, my onion skin. Don't know why I call that envelope. And just to have that showing there. That way, as I draw, I can kind of get my thicknesses correct. Like, I want the band that is the center of his body to have the same thickness. And then he's got the band on the lower part too, which is about this thickness right here. Alright, so let's go ahead and go with that. It might not be perfect, it might have to be redrawn later, but I'm animating right now. I'm not going to focus too much on getting everything perfect for the drawings. I just want to have enough here to where I can actually continue animating. So there we go, and then I fill everything in with his proper colors, but I'm going to leave the red there. That way I know that this is a custom part, I've drawn it in, and I need to re-vector this and tweak it later on. So if I double click out, grab this torso, set it to frame number 2. There you go. I've now set his torso to basically match that. Now, I could grab this piece here and maybe I could set it to the reverse 3/4 pose. I might be able to. So what is that? That's frame number 70. So if I grab this and set it to frame number 70, Maybe I can sort of finesse this on top. I just have it there. But I don't really feel like I should. I feel like for this particular pose of his, this extra piece is unnecessary. So I might just go ahead and delete it for this particular pose. I have it saved over here. I can always grab these pieces back. That's the reason why we put all the different views of the puppet all the way at the very end, so that the animator can always come back and grab these pieces and drag them back over here if they need to. And I don't think I need his neck for this particular pose either, so I'm going to delete his neck piece. In other words, what I'm getting at is don't be afraid to delete pieces if you don't need them for a particular pose. The simpler you can make things for yourselves, the better. Don't really need his butt piece for this particular one, but I'm going to include it anyways. Just because I'd like to be able to go back to that butt piece later on in animation if I have him standing up or something like that. Can't really see his butt because it's going to be covered up by this, but I'm going to put it there anyways. And then this back piece is generally speaking something you want to have in here as well. But again, I think I'll delete it for this particular pose since he's leaning forward and it's an under arc for his shirt. We're not going to see the back of his shirt in this particular pose. So I'll delete it for now, and I might bring it back later if I have him stand up or something like that. Alright, so that gets him a nice torso. So let me turn that head back on again. Where are you at, you little bastard? There you are. So here's what we got so far. So now I'm just going to go even further. What's connected to the torso? The arms. But before I do the arms, I like to actually do the legs, because the legs are what's going to be connecting him to the ground. I feel like they're more important to figure out than the arms are. So I've got these legs. Now, for this leg over here, I could probably get away with using this piece. And I could sort of do something like that, and maybe I could even jump in there, and I could use the envelope tool, and I could tweak it around. And I could do the same thing here. I could, you know, move this one up and sort of rotate it around and sort of mess with it and get it to look right. But I'll be honest with you, I don't really care, because this new leg is so wildly different from his normal, you know, just straight legs. And because I know that I'm probably not really going to be animating him doing a lot with that leg, I'm probably just going to ignore the fact that this is two different pieces and just cheat it. And what I mean by that is I'm deleting this leg, and I'm going to redraw this leg to where it's just this entire shape all in one thing. So if I position this in the right spot to where I could rotate that leg if I wanted, kind of get it over here. And generally speaking, when you go inside of a symbol to draw something, you don't want that symbol to be rotated. So I'm going to take this and go to my transform view and just set the rotation to 0. That way it's not rotated. It's perfectly straight up and down. Then I'll go inside, I'll create a new blank frame, and I'm just going to draw this leg. Oh, with red. And again, I like to create circle joints. But there, that was pretty simple. Let me grab those colors. Now, this is supposed to be that dark brown. So what I might do is temporarily go to my view, preview mode, full. Grab this dark brown color, fill that in. View, preview mode, anti-alias text, and that way it's all faded out again. And there we go. Set this to frame number 2. And there. Now I've got a puppet rig for that particular leg. And it's rigged. Like, I could still do some skewing. Like, honestly, if he was going to be shifting his weight from side to side, I could shift his weight from side to side with this. And I can even rotate it a little bit. But if he was going to stand up, I would probably draw in, like, an extra custom one for the stand-up pose, and then swap him back to his normal legs for him standing up. There's no need to try to force the legs to always be two separate pieces. Why give yourself that much extra work when you can just cheat it this way? So I'm going to do the same thing over here, because I know that I can cheat this one too, so I'm just going to go ahead and, again, same thing. Use the upper thigh as the main piece. Position it in a good spot for rotation. Set that rotate to 0. Get it to the good spot. And same thing. Double click to go inside. Create a blank keyframe right here on frame 2. Grab my red brush and draw on a custom part. And let's go find some colors. So again, view, preview mode, full, and shlunk, 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 shlunk. Excellent. And set that back to anti-alias text. And double click out, set that to frame 2, and there you go. I've got that there. So same thing, they're rigged. And again, I might want to go back in and tweak that leg in the future to make it a little bit more on model, but right now, it's enough for me to continue doing animation for. It's very easy to continue animating with the symbols, go back in after the animation's all done, and slightly, subtly tweak some of his parts. Because that wouldn't mess with the animation. This is puppet animation. If this was traditional animation, yeah, I'd have to make sure that it's drawn perfectly, otherwise it's going to mess with all my breakdowns and in-betweens. But it's puppet. I'm just animating the symbols. I'm not actually animating the artwork itself. I can always jump into a symbol, change the artwork, and it'll suddenly update the animation for everything else going forward. Such is the beauty of puppet animation. Okay, so let's get his feet. Now, I might actually have some feet in here that I can use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to browse through all of the extra feet that we've already rigged into the puppet back here. And see if we have a foot in here that we can use. That, if only it was rotated in the proper direction. Oh, we don't. Damn. I was hoping we could cheat it. Looks like we can't. Alright, well, we're going to have to draw on a new foot then, too. That's alright. You'll very quickly realize... Oh, but look at this, though. I need this foot to be behind that. So, foot far. Do I have another foot far layer down here? I don't. So, underneath this thigh... Honestly, underneath everything, to be honest with you. I'm going to create a new layer. Drop it down here. And call this foot far. See how I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to create new layers or build new pieces or re-rig the puppet as I go about animating this. Control X. Come down to my new foot far layer. Control V. Now it's behind it. This is one of the reasons why the best puppet animators are also really good at puppet rigging. Because as you animate, as you key pose, you're also basically re-rigging the puppet to work for that particular pose. That's why my advice to you puppet animators who want to get better at puppet animation, if you haven't really explored puppet rigging yet, if you haven't attempted to rig your own puppets, you should. It will make you a better puppet animator. Now, what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to start from this. Because it kind of looks that I could start from that paw right here and then just tweak it a little bit. Because his feet aren't completely drawn perfectly as far as the sketch is concerned. So I might start from here. Double click to go inside. And still, I always create a new keyframe. F6. But then what I might do is I might just tweak the vector a little bit. Like this would probably be right about here. I might be able to get away with cheating. I'm going to try. I'm always going to try to cheat. Like if I could cheat it, then I'd like to be able to cheat it. Drawing isn't always the answer. Yeah, so that needs to come back over here. I think I might push that down. Yeah, and then what I could do is I could take this and kind of squash it in a little bit. Sort of push it a little thicker like that, like he's squashing it down slightly. Same thing, lower these. That way I can lower, oh, whoops. Need to make sure I only select that. There we go. And same thing. And then what I would do is I would go ahead and grab my hairline. Also set it to red, just because red's my go-to. And I'm thinking that I can just do something kind of like this. Probably should turn on my snapping. Something kind of like this. Where I can round this off like that. Grab this color, fill that in. Let's turn that on and off, just get a feel for this again. Yeah, and then what I can do is I can grab this, curve it out kind of like that, and then grab all this and delete it. And honestly, I'm getting the feeling that I could do something even more. I can grab this and just move it up. And delete this too. And then tweak that. And then what I would do is actually combine these two here into one nice solid line. Yeah, like he's got his heel raised. And then set that to frame 2. And there we go. Works for now. And I can always tweak it later, but that works. I was able to get away with just using the vector on that. So just like I said earlier, how being a good puppet rigger is going to make you a better puppet animator. Same thing with vectoring. Like, if you don't know how to vector in this program, then I'll be honest with you, you shouldn't be puppet animating in this program. Learn how to vector first. Then learn how to puppet rig next. Then learn how to puppet animate after that. That's the reason why this entire tutorial series starts with vectoring, then moves into puppet rigging, and then moves into animation. This is the path to becoming a better animator. Kind of the same thing here too. I think I can again start with this basic foot and just tweak it to make it match. Let's try it out. But again, this is my foot near. I want it to be underneath this thigh near. Do I have another foot near down here that I could grab? I don't. So again, I'll just create a brand new layer. I'm going to call this foot near. Put down that blank keyframe right here. And let's grab that foot. Control X. Go to my foot near, Control Shift V. There. And just to make things easier for me, I'm going to grab the symbol for this back one here, put a brightness on it of like -10. Just to make it a little bit easier to differentiate between one foot and the next. Okay. But yeah, I've got this in a good spot. Now it's just a matter of, once again, tweaking this foot. So I'm going to create a new keyframe, F6. Just turning it off and on just to see what I'm looking at here. It's already looking pretty solid. I might just grab the whole thing, squash it in a little bit. Maybe even push it up slightly. And then it's just a matter of adding on to this vector. So I might just, let's see here. Where are my points at? Like that. So if I just push this up like that. Yeah. And then hold down Alt and push that over here. And then just move this. Oh, whoops. Make sure I'm only selecting that point right here. Yeah. I just need to move this down. Kind of like this. And then I'll tweak the curve to match the foot again. and sort of tweak this a bit, kind of like that. So let's see what that looks like. And I might just go ahead and do my own little tweak here, because I kind of like the idea that this has a bit more of a rounded edge to it. So I might do something like this, create a new vector, and just sort of curve that out a little bit more like that. Or heck, I might even do that. No. Let's just try that. I can always redraw it later. While you're doing puppet posing, don't try to make everything perfect. If you try to make everything perfect, you'll never get to the actual animating part itself. Plus, there's a lot that you can do with hiding body parts behind other body parts that don't quite look as perfect, but the audience is going to know about it. In other words, don't stress out trying to make everything perfect. Not while you're animating. Animation is a living, breathing art form. Nobody is going to pause it and go through it frame by frame, unless they're another animator. But for the general audience that you're creating your animation for, cheat. Cheating is awesome. I'm doing a lot of it right now, and I love it. Okay, so I've now got his feet in here. What can I do with these arms? Well, I'm thinking that I could actually get away with using these arm pieces. So I'm going to grab this arm piece here, just kind of move it over here, get it in the right spot, because he's kind of raising his shoulders a little bit, kind of like that. But it's got to be stretched out. So I'm going to double-click to go inside, F6. I'm going to stretch it out a little bit. Maybe even skew it down slightly. Something kind of like that. Grab my envelope tool, and I'm just going to curve it. Kind of like that. Now, a hint on using the envelope tool is if you make your outside outline a nice curve, it'll always result in a better shape. So if I move this in, I also tweak the handle over here, and I also tweak the handle over here to make a more convincing curve. If the bounding box looks good, the vector inside will usually look good as well. There we go. That's my frame 2. So set that to frame 2. Bam. Okay. I bet I could do the exact same thing with the other arm, but I'm going to focus on here for now. Now, do I have an arm in here that sort of matches that? I bet you I do. Oh, I don't. You don't ever see the interior of it. But hang on a second. I bet you see the interior of this other one. You do. Look at that. So what if I were to grab this one? And I'm just honestly just going to grab the whole thing. Copy. Come back over to this other one over here. And create a new keyframe again. F7. And just Control-Shift-V, paste. And because they're both rigged in the exact same way, if you do a Control-Shift-V, which stands for paste in place, it'll paste it exactly in the registration point so that this arm is also rigged. That's the beauty of symbols. And let's see here. So now what I can do is, again, I think that I'm going to get this in the right spot. Kind of curve it into a certain direction. Yeah, that's looking pretty solid. Something kind of like that. Get it kind of in the right spot here. Double click to go inside. Go to my new one that I just created. And I might do some tweaking. Like I might go ahead and expand this up kind of like that. Yeah. And I might even do something kind of like this. There's a bit of like a forced perspective thing happening here slightly. Something kind of like that. So what's that look like? If I double click out, set that to frame 2, kind of look around here. Yeah. I think the only thing is that I made his wrist too wide. So I might go ahead and double click inside, grab this wrist shape, and because the whole thing, I copied and pasted it. It was originally on its own layer. I probably should have copied and pasted the frames and brought the frames in here instead. But that's okay. Such is life. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of tweaking here. If I wanted this to be super realistic, the idea would be to actually have this shoulder sleeve, not shoulder, this forearm sleeve resting a little bit more on this guy here. In other words, if I were to bring this up a bit, kind of like that. But it's a cartoon. I'm not going to worry too much about it being perfect, unless my art director tells me otherwise. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to basically squash this in a little bit, kind of like that. And then what I can do is I can retweak the vector. Plop that in over there. Plop this in right there. And then grab that color, fill that in. And there's a little bit of a jolt right here, and that's fine. I know how to vector. I'll just grab that, grab this, fill that in, and nobody will be none the wiser. Just a little bit more of a sleeve down here, which gives the impression that it might be hanging off. But again, I don't like how this is straight. So I might go ahead and grab all of this. Again, grab my transformation tool and curve the bottom of that. It's very rare that you ever want something to have a perfectly straight feeling to it. Heck, I might even do the same thing right here and curve that in. Even though my drawing doesn't have that, I just feel like it looks better if I do that. Kind of like this. So just a bit of a curve to that. And again, I like to have a nice, smooth bounding box. Excellent. So there we go. Yeah. And I'll just do the exact same thing with this other arm, which I'm going to do. Drag that over here. Get that in the right spot for a rotation. Double click to go inside. Always create a new frame. You don't want to ever get rid of the original shape. And I'll just kind of stretch it out a little bit. And move it down slightly. Yeah, that's good enough. I don't want to go too far down. Or maybe I do. Yeah, why not? Grab my envelope tool. Curve that out. Curve this in. Fix my bounding box. And there we go. So go back out, set that to frame 2. And there we go. Now I've got that rigged. Okay. Last but not least, let's grab this puppy. And let's get it over here. Now, just like I did the legs, I probably could have gotten away with just drawing this entire arm inside of one symbol. The reason why I'm not is, one, I just want to show you guys how you can actually still use two pieces if you want. And two, I get the feeling that this animation, even though I won't really be bending the legs that much because all of his weight is on his legs, I do feel like I would actually be bending the arms a bit with his animation. So I actually do want them to be two separate pieces. It's all depending upon what you're planning on doing with the animation. But alright, I'm going to swap this over to, I think, I'm going to go with frame 20, the Pro view. So let's do that. So let's set that to frame 20. Let's rotate that up a bit. And then just like this other one over here, I want to tweak it a little bit because that's just a little too static for me. So let's go ahead and grab that and hold down Control, and I'm just going to sort of stretch that up a bit. Yeah. And again, I just want to make sure that everything's a little bit more accurate, so I'm just going to squash that up a bit. And, oh, honestly, that actually... Oh, that's because this actually has all of its layers. This is actually a separate layer inside, which is what this other one should have been, but I didn't copy it correctly. So that, I should have just copied it correctly. It would have been a lot easier. Oh, well, such is life. And again, I like to select... Oh, no, I edited the original. Oh, I'm going to undo it. Don't ever edit the original. I should create a new keyframe, F6, and edit the new keyframe. So there. Probably even shift that around a little bit, get more of a circle over here. I might do the same thing over here too. There we go, more of a nub. Put that hand on. So frame 21. But again, I want to use my envelope tool. It's more than one layer though, so I'll turn off the layers, turn on the envelope, turn them back on because, I don't know, Adobe full of wizards. And I just want to tweak this a little bit. There we go. So what's that? 21. So I'll set that to 21. Done. So again, looking back and forth. The sleeve's a little freaky to me. I might go ahead and grab this sleeve and just sort of... How many points is this sleeve? It's just this one. So if I grab that and sort of move that point in... Yeah, that feels a little bit more natural to me. I don't know why my mouse isn't grabbing that. Thank you. Now! Oh my god. Thank you. There we go. And I might do the same thing over here. Ooh, there isn't even a middle point there. That's a lot easier. There we go. So, drawing in a new part is infinitely easier, and it allows you to be a lot more custom with your puppet. At the same time, though, or I mean, not at the same time, on the flip side of that coin, tweaking the vector does take longer, and it's a little harder to make it look good, but it means that after this animation is done, I don't have to go back and re-vector any of this stuff. So, I don't know, take it as you will. Sometimes it's easier and quicker to just draw it, but sometimes you're actually saving yourself a lot more time and heartache if you just tweak the vector right then and there. I leave it up to your own discretions. Okay, now for the hands. So what kind of hands did I draw on? Just kind of like these happy hands. I wouldn't be surprised if we had some hands in there that'll work for that. So this hand is actually this one here. So let's go inside and take a look at some of these hands. So what do we got in here? Looking for some hands. Oh, yeah. This one actually kind of works. I like this hand. What is this, frame 88? So let's set that to frame 88. And problem is that I need it to be flipped. So what I might do is I might just take this symbol, modify, transform, and flip it horizontal like that. But now his thumb's on the wrong side. It should be on the inside. So this hand actually can't be used for what I want it to do. It's not drawn the right way. I need the thumb to be on the inside in order for this to work. No, that would be on the inside. No, that would work for this hand. See, that would work for neither hand. Let's jump back out here real fast. I need to remind myself what I need here. Yeah, so I'm not looking at the inside of it. I'm looking on the outside of it. Boom, 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 boom. Where are you little bastards? Oh, well, that's on the inside. Yeah, but it looks more like he's pointing. It doesn't quite work. No. Oh, that is. Got claws, though, but I could always get rid of the claws. What else? There's a lot of hands in here. Oh. Yeah, that works pretty good. Frame 106. Okay, but just in case. Yeah, 106 is a pretty good one. And then modify, transform, flip horizontal. Oh, but I need that to be on top. So, hand far. Is there another hand far up here? There is not. So I'm just going to create a new layer above this. And I'm going to put it above everything. Let's create a new hand far up here. And paste. And there we go. That way I've got his hand here. It's not matching it perfectly, but I kind of like it. Okay, can I get away with the same thing over here? Frame 106. What if I have the same hand on both? The same hand on both might be a little too much. Let's see if we can find a different hand. Maybe? No, because that wouldn't make sense. The thumb has to be on the inside in order for that to work. I could try this one. Frame 109. Oh, and then same thing. Hand near has to be above here. Oh, but there already is a hand near layer. I don't have to create one. I just copy and paste it right onto it. So maybe something kind of like this. And then actually I do want that to be above this one. Kind of like he's putting his fist in his palm or is about ready to do it. So I might actually go ahead and legitimately create a new hand near layer up here. Or, no, I'll do this instead. I'll keep that there. I'll take the hand far layer I created and just put it underneath the hand near. There we go. And again, just to make it a little bit easier for me, I might do a negative 10% brightness. Nah, I'll leave that alone. In the process of animation, it'll work. Now, I could have just gone in there and drawn a new hand. Yes, absolutely. And I would fully expect you animators to do that as well. If, like, the director came by and he was like, no, we really, really want him to be twiddling his fingers right here, then yeah, I would absolutely have to redraw a new hand. But maybe the director's like, oh, we don't really care what his hands are doing. We just want it to look real. Then yeah, what I have right here actually works perfectly fine. I would ask the director is what I'm saying. Okay, now let's take care of the tail real fast, and then we'll come back to this facial expression and start messing with some faces. So let's see here. A good way to do the tail is, first off, where is... Oh, it was the front view. He doesn't have a tail in the front view. So what I need to do is I need to go find his tail layer, which is right here. Yeah, let's grab this tail right here. Copy, come back over here, and paste. I just have to make sure it's behind everything. Well, it's okay if it's not truly behind that. Is there another tail layer down here? There is not. I know that I want it to be behind everything, though, so I will legitimately go ahead and just create a new layer all the way at the very, very bottom and just call this tail. Control-Shift-V. Now, I could use my envelope tool and curve this and curve this. Oh, God, but it would take forever. I could draw in a new tail as well. That's perfectly legitimate. I'm going to actually try to cheat this. I'm going to try to use the art brush tool. So let me show you a couple ways of doing this. If I were to go ahead and create a line and curve the line to match the curve that I want the tail to have, kind of like this. Select the line, find that tail in here, which is... Where are you at, you little bastard? Can I have one that's pointed? Yeah, in this direction. Yeah. So let's try this one right here. I've got that selected here. I've got the line selected over here. Command Art Brush Normal. And it puts the tail along there. But I have to make sure that I change the thickness of that line. So if I tweak the thickness of the line to like 10, so it's a thick line, then again go to Command Art Brush Normal. Well, now that's too thick. So let's undo that. Maybe I should just make it a 1. Instead of a 10. Art brush normal. There we go. It automatically curves the tail. If I can... Control-Shift-A. Thank you. Don't know why you're not selecting the tail down here. Thank you. Huh. Why are you... Oh, I think it's glitching on me. Hang on. Control-Shift-S. Let's save this version as version 1B. Let's close this real fast and open that back up again. I think it was glitching on me. There we go. Yeah, it was. But there we go. I've now got his tail curved along that line. And that is the art brush extension. It's awesome. It's a very cool extension. It works really well with Flash CS6. So that's one way I could curve that tail out, by using that. And if you guys want to know where that art brush extension is, it's inside of our public assets folder. So if you go to our public assets folder, you go to our Flash extensions folder. There it is, art brush. Just install that right into Flash. Just double click it and it installs it. But because I'm in Adobe Animate, I could use a different method instead. So I'm actually going to take this and delete that. I'm going to grab this tail, and I'm going to right-click it and go to Create Paintbrush. And it's going to open up the Create Paintbrush dialog window. And yeah, I want it to be exactly like that. Add. And now, what I have is a brush selected. So if I grab my actual brush tool, the paintbrush tool, you'll see that under the style, it's got that tail right here, which means that if I draw, and I increase the thickness, I'm drawing with that tail. So maybe I'll do a 25. Yeah. So now I'll just go ahead and grab my brush and draw on a tail. And I can actually get a more appealing tail. There we go. Don't have to follow the sketch completely. And there you go. I drew in a tail on a brush path. That's a lot easier, because that brush path is still a stroke. In other words, I could grab that path and tweak the path, and it'll tweak the tail, which is really cool. So for those of you who don't have Adobe Animate, but you have Adobe Flash CS6 or down, the paintbrush tool alone is enough of a reason to shell out the money. Trust me, it's so much easier to animate tails when you have that paintbrush tool. The art brush extension is still good, though. You can still use the art brush extension, and it works out okay. It's just a lot easier with that brush tool. But all right, so we're getting him posed. It's looking pretty good. I'm liking it, at least.
I have a question.
Yeah, what's your question?
I'm like coming more from like a Toon Boom sort of background for puppeting and stuff. But with the art brush tool, could you, in theory, I guess, do that with the arms as well?
Absolutely.
I mean, I know. Yeah, because I was thinking like maybe that would like, I don't know if it would necessarily save time or anything.
No, absolutely. Like if I were to go and find an arm real fast, kind of like this right here. If I grab both of these, copy, and then just for the sake of having it here, paste it, straighten this out, break them apart. Now that they're wet art, right-click, create paintbrush. I want it to go the opposite way, though. Scale proportionally. We'll keep stretch. And hit add. Then go grab my brush tool, and there it is. Now it's brushed over there. So now, so if you have a specific arm that you really want to have a nice curve to it, and you don't feel like doing all the vectoring for it, this is another way of just sort of getting a really quick arm.
This applies to legs and other assets as well. I use the art brush when I animate Melody. I use it for her arms, legs, and her ears.
Yeah, absolutely. The art brush is really great for animal parts and for ligaments, so long, thin things, legs, arms, things like that. It's pretty awesome. I really love the art brush. I keep calling it art brush, but it's the paintbrush. But the art brush normal can do the exact same thing. It just requires a little bit more setup, and it's an extension that you have to install separately into the program.
So would like the only body parts that wouldn't work are probably like the feet, hands, head?
Yeah, like I mean.
What about the torso?
No, you could do the torso as well. Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
I mean, I could try right now. See. So if I just grab all the pieces that is the torso, copy, come back over here, paste. Again, you want to set it sideways. Break it apart, right click, create paintbrush, and add. And now if I grab my paintbrush, but I might want to thicken the brush, make that like a 40. That way it draws a little thicker. Maybe even a 50? A 60? Yeah, 60 seems to be the right one. Oh, what? That's it. My Cintiq glitched on me there. My Cintiq seems to be glitching on me a little bit.
Yeah, you can use it on the torso if you want like a really quick in between. Usually the art brush is very good for limbs because if you need to get a nice curve in the arms that you can't normally do editing it with the envelope tool, or you can do it in the envelope tool. It's just that usually it can be really quick with the art brush. Like for instance, there was some animation in the Caleb promo years back, like where his arms are curving and he's kind of like doing the hi-ya! And I imagine it took like at least 20 minutes to break those arms apart and get them curved, whereas you could have done that in a minute with the art brush now.
Exactly. So the art brush tool is awesome. It is definitely worth getting Adobe Animate just to use that paintbrush tool. That paintbrush tool is amazing. But all right, let's go ahead and jump into the face and start posing out the face to match this expression. So I'm going to jump inside and let's do a little bit of tweaking here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this ear, rotate it up a little bit. Grab this ear and rotate it up a little bit because he's kind of a little excited. And then I want to give his face a slight 3/4 angle. So to do that, I'm going to grab this and actually push it in like that. And then I might even grab this and push it in like that. And then what I'll do is I'll hit Control A to select everything. But then I'll hold down Shift and deselect the ear, deselect the ear, deselect the noggin, deselect his hair up here. That way I only have his face selected. And now what I can do is I can squash it in over here, stretch it a little bit out over there to kind of sort of give it the feel that he's looking over in this direction. So if I were to compare the two, see how it gives the feeling like he's looking over? Then I'll do the same thing with his whiskers. Oh, that's right. This Caleb puppet, we didn't have the whiskers as separate objects. Ugh. Well, they are inside of here, but it's pretty annoying. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and move them over anyways. Those two would move over, and these two would move over as well. That way it still feels like he's looking off in that direction. So there we go. I could push it even further if I wanted to. And I just might. No, I think I pushed it over too far. I'm going to undo that. There we go. But he is kind of looking up a little bit, so I might grab this and push it up a little. Give it a slight feel like he's looking up. That's a good place to start. Then grab this pupil, which is going to be... I like to lock the mask layers. That way I don't accidentally select them. That way I can grab these pupils. I'll push this one over here. It's more like he's looking off in that direction. So I might actually bring this back in. We'll just bring this in closer. more of a cross-eyed feeling to it. I can always jump out to see what it looks like. And I might even do something like this. I might even grab these pupils and transform them a little bit. I might push them to a 75% size. Or maybe even a 50% size. Maybe he's like super excited. Like, oh, can't believe we realized it again. 50 might be too much. Let's do 60.
I had a quick question about the whiskers.
Yeah.
In terms of like, I guess, motion, stuff like that, because like on the drawing it has them like super up and everything. I guess how
Yeah.
much should they be moving?
No,
Are they pretty,
like that. That's
stiff?
just this particular artist getting a little too off model. So
Okay.
they should be down here. The whiskers wouldn't be all the way up there unless there's like a fierce wind brushing through on his face.
Okay, so in general they're pretty stiff.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and then let's find a good eyebrow here. I want one that's kind of more raised. Oh, number 3 works. So 3, 3, and I'm gonna move them both up. And now it's just a matter of tweaking the mouth. There's a couple different noses in here. I might go to 70. Gotta push this over here a little bit. Get a little bit more of a snout showing. Just to sort of push the 3/4 view. Yeah. Yeah. And then I might grab that mouth, and he's just super happy. He's like, yeah! So maybe do this. But I could also get away with grabbing his 3/4 mouth from his 3/4 view. Which for some reason is empty? Huh. I wonder if this particular puppet is sold that we don't have the 3/4 rev mouth in there. That's okay. Just for the sake of this particular tutorial, I might just grab this one and just flip it horizontal. But I just want to know what this is shaped like. Yeah, it has a bit better of a shape that I want. I wonder why his 3/4 mouth is glitched. Let's see. 3/4? Yeah, Caleb mouth, 3/4 rev. Yeah, it glitched out a little bit. Oh, yeah, look at that. Oof. I don't know why that glitched. Just for the sake of the tutorial, I'm going to copy that mouth and bring it over here. And I'll just paste it onto here. And I'll flip it horizontal. This isn't something that you should be doing because it would move his tooth onto the other end, which we don't like. But I like this because if I set this to like frame 4, but I set his front view mouth to frame 4, it's a different shape that's created. I like that this one has more of a snout-friendly shape to it. Kind of like that. Yeah. And if I really wanted to push the mouth and really get a crazier mouth in here, I could just redraw it. In fact, I might just do that real fast just to show you guys how to do it. Because I kind of like that it's... I like the mouth that's drawn in there. So I'm going to turn everything off except the mouth. And I'm going to tweak this. I'm going to turn everything off except for this lips layer. And I'm just going to create a temporary layer up here real fast. Grab my brush, set it to red. And what if I just drew this mouth? Because I kind of like this mouth. Let me get it to the same thickness as the lips, though. So I might just want a, what, a 7 thickness? Yeah. Well, no. What, a 10 thickness? No, I think it's a 9. Yeah, there we go. Okay. And then turn that off. And let's just give this a try. Something kind of like that. And let's see here. If I were to grab a new color and fill this in, and then grab this shape, Control X. Grab this lip that I drew, toss it in here. I'm actually going to toss it all the way to the end, like this. Put it all the way here and delete that temporary layer. Then come down here and put some empty blank keyframes here. These are my extra parts. These are my extra mouths. And layer 2 is also empty. Don't know why. Now on the mask layer, I'm going to Control-Shift-V and paste that in place. That way there's a mask right here. And it's just that shape, the shape of his inner mouth. Now I'm going to go grab me some other teeth. So his teeth right here. I'm going to grab that, come all the way over to here. Control-Shift-V. Teeth up. This particular mouth, he doesn't have his teeth down showing, but he does have his tongue. So I'm going to grab his tongue, copy that, come over here, Control-Shift-V. And the back of his mouth as well. Grab that back of the mouth, copy, come over here, Control-Shift-V. Now if I lock everything, what does that look like? It's looking like this. Yeah. And I could always tweak this a little bit more. Go back to that lips layer up here, grab this lip, and I might just draw a little bit more detail here. Something kind of like that. And then, yeah. So that way, this extra mouth is matching his other mouths that he creates. Kind of like that. Just a happier, bigger mouth. And that was on frame 65. So I'll set that to 65. 5. There. Now he's got a super happy mouth. Turn everything back on. And I leave it in red to let myself know after the animation's done to, you know, re-vector that and make it look a little bit better. But there. Now I've basically got Caleb posed out to match this drawing. And then I would go ahead and I'd move forward. So that took about an hour and 10 minutes, I think. So that's about how long it takes somebody to do a puppet pose, to break a puppet and force it to match the drawing. But this is what is expected of every puppet animator out in the industry. You are expected to take that rigid puppet and break it apart, draw in new parts, bend it to match the rough that was drawn earlier. Because now that I have this matching the rough, doing puppet animation is actually a lot. It's pretty easy. Like, everything's still broken apart into pieces. I can still do puppet animation for this and mess with all this stuff. Well, I'd select the hand too. So, any questions or concerns so far about anything that I've gone over? All right.
No,
I'm good.
So I'm actually just going to save this and close this. And let me show you just another example real fast, because I have a couple finished passes that I've done from previous lectures. And let me see here. Puppet demo. What's this one? Which poses did I choose for this? Let's find out. Ah, so I chose this pose for a previous lecture. Let me see here. Double click inside. So there, I chose that one. But same exact deal. All I did is I just grabbed a lot of parts and I used the techniques that I just showed you to basically match the puppet to this drawing. I had to create a new mouth. I didn't highlight it in red though, like I should have. Actually, I think it's because I legitimately vectored it for this particular one. But there you are. Same exact thing. Got to break that puppet apart and force it to match the drawing that you do. That's why it's so important that we like you guys to do your rough drawings first. Let's see if they're... Any other examples from these past lectures here? Version 2. What's this? Oh. Huh. Don't know what these are for. What are you? Let's go to the latest version number and check that out real fast. Yeah, so here we are. So we have, again, oh, I put it inside of the puppet for this one. So that's what it was. That was the drawing, that's the pose. And then I think again...
I can't believe that worked.
That was the drawing, this is the pose. But all right, so with that said, let me go ahead and move on to the next step. So after you've done all of your key posing and you've broken the puppet and you've made it match, the next step is to start worrying about breakdowns and further animation beyond that. So what I like to do is I like to actually go off to the side now and talk a little bit more about facial animation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this 1B that I created and put it in my finish passes because I like to have that saved for future tutorials. And I'm going to open up this head turn file. All right, so what do we got here? So we've got Caleb's puppet and another piece of dialogue. What's he saying this time?
And Caleb Truetail saves the day again.
And Caleb Truetail saves the day again.
And Caleb Truetail saves the day again.
All right. So what I would like to do is I would like to just pretend that there is no body, and everything we're doing is just the head. I want to animate this head doing a head turn. So it's going to be looking over here at frame left, does a head turn to look over here at frame right. And I'm going to animate his facial expressions and close his eyes and blink it and dilate his pupils and do some lip syncing and actually show you how I approach doing all this facial animation stuff. So we got the dialogue up here. So let's go inside of the head clip. And I should also have the same dialogue. So how would I go about this?
And Caleb Truetail saves the day again.
Well, I know that I want to start him off looking off to frame left. So I'm going to grab this entire 3/4 view right here. Alt drag it all the way back to the beginning. That way he starts off with the 3/4 view right from the get-go. Oh, turn that back on.
And Caleb Truetail saves the day again.
So when we're animating head movement, we always like to follow the inflection of the dialogue. And what I mean by inflection is I mean the pitch. Highs versus lows. Lows versus highs. And whenever a character goes into a high voice, like, I really love that sandwich, then on love, because we go up, the character's head will also usually go up as a result. And then when they go, I really, man, like, oh, and their inflection goes down in pitch, we usually have their head go down as well. And you'll notice it too when you're talking. Like if you just watch yourself in the mirror and just talk to yourself in the mirror, you'll notice that your head kind of bobs up a little bit when you start going up. And when you go down, it kind of naturally goes down as well. You especially see this with singers. If you watch a music video or you go watch someone singing, they love doing it in singing. So whenever they go into a high pitch, they kind of raise their head. When they go into a low pitch, they really lower their head. So Caleb starts off with...
And Caleb
And Caleb. And Caleb.
And Caleb.
So I might actually start him where he's actually slightly rotated up a little bit. And then...
And
maybe on and I might put a keyframe down here and just lower him down a little bit and rotate him slightly. I'm keeping it subtle. Basically from there to there.
And Caleb Truetail. And Caleb. And Caleb Truetail.
On Truetail, he goes up again.
And Caleb True.
So right about here, I put another keyframe, and I'll move him back up and forward, and even rotate him up slightly.
And Caleb Truetail saves the day.
And Caleb Truetail saves, and on saves, he goes up even higher.
And Caleb Truetail saves.
So right about here, he does another saves. So I might even have him do a little bit of a flourish, but I don't want to over-animate. That's one of the dangers of puppet animation, is because of how easy it can seem at first. It's easy to accidentally over-animate things. So I'm just going to rotate him a little bit more, move him up a little bit further.
And Caleb Truetail saves the day again. Truetail saves the day again. Truetail saves the day again. And Caleb Truetail saves the day again.
On the, I'm going to have him do his head turn, because I want to get him over to this side of the screen. And Caleb Truetail saves the, and on the is when I'm going to have him spin his head.
Truetail saves the day again.
The's about right here, so I'll put another keyframe down. And now I'm actually going to pay attention to where I'm putting my keyframe. I want it to be on an odd number, that way I'm animating on 2s. I wasn't paying attention with these other ones, because I'm just doing it really quick. I'm going to go back and tweak that later. But here we go, 61. Now on frame 61, inside of the head on frame 61, I'm going to go to his front view, which is mysteriously missing. Oh god, no. No! That's okay. This is why we have his other puppet over here. Only I opened up the wrong file. Give it a sec. Let this open, and I'll close it, and I'll go grab that head view from another angle. Looks like whoever created this particular file did not put keyframes down on the front view. So when I drag those 3/4 ones to replace them, it just replaced the front view ones. And that was probably a past 2013 version of me. So let's open up. Oh wait, let's just try this. I'm just gonna copy and paste this, and I'll just open up the copy because I haven't saved it. Yeah. Sweet. Yeah, so look at that. There's supposed to be keyframes on this front view. Otherwise, it will replace it. Don't know why that was the case. F6. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go right-click, copy frames, come back over to my other file, and grab all of this and right-click, paste frames. And there we go. Only it, did I put that on the right layer? Yeah, I did. Why did it rotate? Let me jump back out. Sometimes it just glitches. Oh, it's because it already was rotated. I see. I see. Okay, but I don't need these keyframes here. So let's grab all these and Shift F6. There we go. So now I can get him back to a front view. So I know that right here, I want to bring him over to a front view. So Alt, drag, there. And actually, I want the front view moniker over here too to let me know that he switches to a front. And I want it to be a very quick head turn. So I'm only going to leave it on the front view for a little while. I'm going to go right to a 3/4 after that. So I'm going to grab this and Alt drag. And I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, 4. Probably that would be the most that it would be. So right here on frame 65, it goes right to a 3/4 view. And because I'm doing all of this inside of the head clip, outside of the head clip, it's also happening.
And Caleb Truetail saves the day again.
So saves the, and right here, he's going to his front view. I'm going to rotate it back over here, bring it down a bit, because I want to follow an arc. And then right here, he's swapping to his other 3/4 view. So I'm going to raise it up and bring it over. And if I turn on my onion skinning, I can kind of see how this arc is looking. Yeah. That's working pretty good for me. Now, other animators will actually physically draw an arc to just make sure they're following the arc. I don't know. For me, I've just been doing this for so long that I can just kind of see it in my head. Again, like, we'll probably have another tutorial here in the future going over other different animation methodologies and approaches. This is just my method. Okay.
And Caleb Truetail saves the day again. Saves the day.
Then probably right here on day, I'm going to have him sort of settle into an even higher pose.
Saves the day again. Saves the day again.
I might even drag this over. Put this over 2 frames. But keep in mind that because I created that on frame 71, dragging it back to frame 69 doesn't mean that everything inside of here was dragged back too. So I have to actually set this symbol from 71 to 69 to make it match the fact that I have this on 69 as well. You want these keyframes to match everything. Otherwise, you'll have out-of-sync animation happening, and that would suck.
Saves the day again.
And then probably right here, I'd have him come down a bit. For again.
And Caleb Truetail saves the day again.
There we go. That's looking pretty good.
And Caleb Truetail saves the day again.
Excellent. So now, let's start to mess with some actual animation for the head turn itself. The head turn officially starts right around here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do as much as I can outside of this head, just by moving the head around before jumping inside to mess with the facial animation inside. So what I'm going to do is I might go F6 right here, turn on my onion skinning real fast, and sort of move it down a bit. But I want it to hug. And what I mean is I want to slow out of it. So I actually don't want to go perfectly in the middle. That'll make it feel normal and even. I actually want to hug a little bit over here. That way it's going to come down and start to smooth into there. And then what I might also do is rotate it a little bit. And then right here on this front view, I might grab, again, turn on my onion skinning, grab this one and rotate it in and move it over a bit with my arrow keys. But grab this original one and rotate it in the other direction and move it over here a little bit with my arrow keys. That way, it creates a nice sort of smooth arc. Yeah.
Saves the day again. Saves the day again. Saves the day again. Saves the day again.
Excellent. And because this is the movement that's happening, there's one more in between these two poses right here. So I might create another keyframe right here. Turn on my onion skinning again. Make it so it's only looking at the one directly in front and the one directly behind. And same thing. Rotate it a little bit more. Move it up to here. And I always use the different body parts to sort of create a point of reference. So that way, bum, 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 bum. Yeah, there we go. This could move down a little bit to sort of emphasize this arc that's happening down here with the bottom of his head. There we go. And then I want to have a little bit of anticipation. So before he starts the head turn going down, I might put one very quick frame where he actually very subtly rotates up a little bit and moves up a little bit. So he goes up before he comes down.
Tail saves the day again.
There we go.
Tail saves the day again. Tail saves the day again.
Just because it's puppet animation doesn't mean that you should ignore the 12 principles of animation. Squash and stretch, anticipation, slow in, slow out, settling. Anticipation has to still be there. Arcs. So he anticipates the movement, and then he does this nice arc where he goes over here, and then he'll settle into this pose over here. But I'm not too worried about the settling pose right now. I'm only worried about getting this head turn animated for you guys. So now that I've done as much as I can with the outside, what I might do is one... No. I'm gonna leave it on 2s. I was thinking I might go 1s just for the very middle part here, but I'm gonna try to keep it on 2s. You should always try to keep your animation on 2s. It's very rare that you ever need to go to 1s. Okay. So, now I'm actually going to animate inside of this head. So, to do that, I'm going to start from the middle and work my way backwards and forwards from the middle of the head turn. So, because this head is supposed to be closer to this view, and this head is supposed to be closer to that view, I'm actually going to jump inside. I've already got keyframes down. And I already know that there's supposed to be keyframes here as well. So I'm going to put keyframes down on both of these, F6. That way if I mess with these keyframes, it won't mess with those keyframes. So here, I'm going to grab this ear, push it in. Grab this ear, push it the other way. And do the same thing I did earlier. Grab everything, shift-click to deselect them. Grab this, and stretch it in this direction to push it closer to the 3/4 view. Like that. And then I'll do the exact opposite over here. I'm going to grab this one. Hang on. Actually, I think I'll leave his ears normal. Grab all of this. And again, push it in this direction. Maybe even further for this one. That way, there's a more seamless transition between it. But I'm going to go further. I'm actually going to grab this and go F6 and do the exact opposite. I'm going to grab this here and actually push it out. And grab this here and push it out too. And then Control A. Deselect all the things I don't want. And I'm actually going to stretch this stuff in this direction, towards the front view. Like that. That way, again, the transition into the front view is even more seamless to create that 2.5D effect. And same thing all the way over here. F6 to preserve his normal one. Go back to this frame. And same thing. Grab this here and push it out. Grab this here and push it out. Control A, Shift, deselect these other parts, and stretch this towards that front view. That way, again, it creates a more seamless transition. Basically, I'm creating the illusion of 2.5D. Now I'm going to do a little bit more here. So I might also grab this and stretch it out a bit right here. And then on this view, I might actually go ahead and modify this and transform it and flip it horizontal. So it's still pointed in this direction here. And I might even stretch it out a little bit too to sort of have a little bit of follow through. That way it only flips right here. But I could even grab this and skew it off in this direction a little bit like that. And then over here, keep it skewed in that direction, kind of like the speed of him moving is sort of causing it to delay. There, and then it bounces forward a little bit over here. Now, ideally, I would also want to do the whiskers as well, but this particular Caleb puppet doesn't have them rigged so easily. So I'm not going to do the whiskers. Although, for our current Caleb puppet, these whiskers are separate items. And I would advise actually tweaking those. But there we go. I've got a 2.5D animation going on here. So if I double-click back out of the head, now, as he moves over here, there's a 2.5D animation happening in addition to his head movement. Which just makes it look that much better. Now, I'm going to show you guys a secret. Because whenever you have a character doing a head turn, ideally you want to have them also blink their eyes. Now, there's a couple reasons for this. One, we like to do it just because having any excuse for a character to blink their eyes is going to make them seem more lifelike. Two, the actual act of turning your head quickly, you'll notice that even doing it right now, you're kind of naturally blinking your eyes anyways. And that's because the air is brushing over your eyeball, and your eyeball doesn't like that. So naturally, you just kind of blink your eye as a result of turning your head. So whenever we turn the heads, we always like to blink the eyes. So I'm going to go back into this head clip here, and I'm going to go ahead and grab my eyelids, and I'm going to do a blink. So right in the middle of it, I'm going to set this to frame, what, 3? 4. Yeah, let's set it to frame 4. Inside of here to blink the eye. And then over here, I'll put this to frame 3, because the first 4 frames are already rigged for eye blinks. And I can show you that right now if you don't believe me. I'll just... Where are you at, you little bastard? There you are. So the eye blink's already in here. So it's frame 1 is the open eye, 2 is the 1/3 down, 3 is the lightly closed, 4 is the hard closed, 5 is the 1/3 up. So the first 5 frames are just for eye blinks. And then right here, I'll do the 1/3 down. That'll be frame 71. 71. So that way, blink. And then here would be the 1/3 up. So frame 15. There we go. Although, is it? Oh, no. No, it's frame 14. Oh. I'm glad that I double-checked that. Because that didn't look right to me. There we go. That way he blinks his eyes. Now, another secret is when a character blinks their eyes, it's usually also good to, at the same time as they're blinking, lower their eyelids. So I'll just go down a little bit here. That way, as he blinks, the eyelids lower. And then once you get to the full blink, I might actually lower these down even further. Kind of like that. And heck, if I wanted to, I could even swap the eyelid for something else. Let me see. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's try 6. I'll still move it up. I might even rotate it a bit so it doesn't look as sad. Same thing here. Set that to 6. Do the same sort of thing. Don't know if this is going to work or not. I'm just trying it out. Might be too much. But I could always seamlessly transition it a bit more if I grab this eyelid, stretch it out a little bit more. Same thing here. That way the transition into the bigger one doesn't feel as extreme. And then I could even grab this bigger one and just squash it in a little bit. That way they don't just feel as big. Then having the bounce out of it is actually good. We like it when things pop. We want the pop open. We never want it to pop closed. We like the pop open. Just like what we talked about in last week's lecture with lip syncing. It's the same thing for anything else you do with a body. So that kind of goes down to here. And then, because this is the lightly closed one, I'm also going to set these to frame 6. That's a little too much, though. But again, I don't want it to have too much of a rotation. And it's very easy for me to tweak these things because when I do my animation, as you guys have already noticed, even if I'm only going to move one or two things, I put keyframes on everything. That way, going back to these poses, I can just move something and it's already keyframed. So I'm just messing around with moving things. I don't have to worry about putting down keyframes. So if I'm moving one part of the body, I put a keyframe down on every part of the body, period. And you should all do the exact same thing. That's not a peculiarity of the animator situation. That is you all need to do that because it's going to force you to start moving all of your body parts together, which is what you should do as a puppet animator. There it goes, and it just pops back up into there. And then what I might even do is once we get to this final one, because he's super happy, I might set this to the second eyebrow, like that, and maybe even pop these up a bit. Although I think they should be popped up even further. Something kind of like that. And then again, another thing you want to do is every time a character closes their eyes and then opens them back up again, you should always dilate the pupils. So if I lock this mask and I lock this mask so I can grab the pupil, this pupil should start off larger. A lot larger. Like this. So what is that? 150 right here? So this one would be the same thing. 150. Oh, whoops. Didn't grab the pupil on that one. Ha! There. That way they're both the same size. And don't worry, the masks will mask out those pupils. But that way, what you want to do... This is one of those situations where you actually do want to go to ones. So F6, have it shrink down a little bit. Where are you at, you little bastard? F6, have it shrink down a little bit. That way, boom, they actually start off larger, and then they take a moment to go back to its normal size. So I'm actually going to put another keyframe immediately after these. One of those rare moments where I actually do like to animate on ones, because it's a subtle thing, and slightly increase their sizes. That way there's a bit of a moment where the pupils are shrinking back down to normal sizes. So if I were to actually jump out of here, you'll see that when he opens his eyes, his pupils dilate a little bit. Although there's a little bit of a glitch happening here. Are these keyframes on the right keyframes? 67, 67, 65, 65. Let's jump inside. Oh, I went the opposite direction, that's why. Alright, hang on. I might even take these ones and make them even bigger. Really over-exaggerate it. It's only there for one frame. Bum. That'll give me a little bit more room to make these a little bit bigger. That way, bum, bum, bum. These need to be bigger as well. I might put one more frame and then shrink them down just a little bit more to make that pupil complete. So jumping back out. There. It's a very subtle thing, but my God, does it make the character feel so much more alive. And you'd think that, pupil dilation, the audience isn't going to notice that, so it's an Ice Cream Snuggles thing, right? No. It actually is something that the audience does notice, even if it's just subconsciously. Trust me, it will always make your character feel more real to dilate their pupils every time the eye closes.
Saves the day again. Saves the day again.
Now, if I want to go even further, I could make it so that once he starts moving, his ears have a little bit of a secondary action. So maybe I stretch this up. I skew this over here. And then we come over to here. And what if I were to jump out? So, ha, bum. So I want this ear to have a little bit more follow through. So I'm going to jump into here, grab this ear, stretch it up a bit, and skew it over in this direction. Jump back out. So I'm jumping in and out. That way, you see how as he moves down, the ear kind of stays up there. And now it's going to have some follow through, which is going to feel really nice. So jump inside of here, grab this ear, stretch it up, skew it over there, jump back out. So jumping in and out at this stage is really going to help you. So bum, 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 bum. Jump over here, grab that. Sort of do that. Maybe stretch it up a little bit. Maybe also move that in. That way when he gets over to here, it catches back up. And then here, I might even have it lean in the opposite direction. So you start to feel a little bit of a follow through on this. There's a drag that the ear is creating. Make it feel a little bit more floppier. Although, this might be a little too much. I might push that back over here. It's subtle. But again, it's the subtle stuff that makes it look good. I do the same thing over here. This one would actually lean a little bit more over to there to have some follow through. That way the ears don't move that much as the head moves down. Then they move. So same thing over here. Grab that, maybe skew it a little bit over there. And then I might grab this and same thing. Actually skew the whole thing down a bit. And then grab this one and I'm thinking skew it over. There we go. And there we go. Just by doing that, you create a very, very nice looking head turn, if I do say so myself.
Saves the day again. 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 Saves the day again.
Sorry about that. Let me turn the dialogue off. Yeah. So let me set this up to loop here real fast. Yeah, very nice. So, any questions or concerns from you guys who are currently here in the room?
Nope. No questions.
All right, sweet. So hopefully that kind of helped enlighten you guys into some of the ways you can go about doing facial animation. Let me go ahead and knock out some lip syncing. So I'm going to turn that off. And let's just lip sync his entire thing that he's saying here. I can do the whole thing.
And Caleb Truetail saves the day again.
And Caleb Truetail saves the day again. Let's go ahead and dive in here. And let's go find that mouth shape. Now, because I know I'm only messing with the mouth shape, I'm going to lock all the other layers and just unlock his mouth. Just makes it a little easier for me. And I might even make this a little bit bigger. I want to see the dialogue sound wave as I'm looking at my mouth.
And Caleb.
Alright, this is where his and first starts in, and it's an odd number, so it'll be on 2s. What I like to do is whenever you have a character talking, I like to pop open the mouth to its largest one already. So I'm just going to go ahead and put him right to a frame 5. Oh, but his noggin, I need to unlock that layer as well. So F6 on the noggin, and the noggin also goes to frame 5, because the noggin is rigged with the mouth. So just pop it open right away.
And Caleb.
Right here I have an N.
And Caleb.
I think I'd get away with putting the N sound right here. So I'm not too worried about doing straight ahead animation here. I'm more worried about hitting the actual mouth shapes themselves. So where's his N? No. Right here, frame 8. So if I set this to frame 8, and I might even shrink it in a little bit. Nothing says I can't do that. Don't have to stick with the mouth as is. And I'll set this to frame 8 as well. And same thing, I might even shrink that in a little bit too. Oh, did I put a keyframe on this one up here? Oh, I put it in the wrong spot. You need to go back to here. There we go. There we go.
And Caleb Truetail. And Caleb True. And Caleb.
Ta 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 ta. Right here, I might go ahead and put this to a closed mouth. Ta ta ta. So that is... Which one? It's his teeth closed one. Here. Frame 3. So go back to frame 3. I'm going to grab the original noggin. And put that to frame 3 as well. There's a little bit too much of an up and down movement here. I might go ahead and get rid of the fact that I did that with the noggin originally. And just, instead of squashing it up, I might just pick a different noggin that doesn't necessarily match that mouth. To give it the impression that it lowered, just put it to 4. There we go. That's a better way of doing that. That way I'm not messing with the shape of the noggin. And
Caleb Truetails. And
right here. And K. But I'm not going to worry about the K, because who cares? I'm only going to worry about the vowel A. So right here, I'm going to pop open his mouth again. And again, I'm going to go to a super nice big pop open mouth. I think 5 is a good one. Is 5 the biggest one? 6, 7? Oh yeah, look at that. Let's just go 7. I'm gonna pop it open super big, just cause I feels like it.
And Caleb Truetails. And Caleb.
There's a L right about here. I think I can get away with having it right here. So la 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 la. I used to have all these memorized. Oh, I could just go to my frame picker. I forgot about that. There's a frame picker window, which really does help. Frame 8. There we go. And then this would also just be frame 8. Yeah, frame picker makes this a lot easier. That's an Adobe Animate thing. Again, another reason to have Adobe Animate, because it makes it easier for lip syncing.
And
Caleb, I think I can do...
Caleb Truetails. And Caleb Truetails. Caleb.
Would probably be right here on frame 31. So put a keyframe on both of them. So a would be a closed mouth. Ba. So all the way back to frame 1.
And Caleb Truetails save.
Caleb. True, ch. So ch would be... Let's see here. Ta. Probably going to be frame 3. Ch. So it opens back up to a teeth. True. So I need to go to an R mouth, which is a whole different beast altogether. His R mouth is 9. There we go. True.
And Caleb Truetails save. And Caleb.
If I want to emphasize the ooh, I can follow that up with the O mouth, which is going to be frame 10.
And Caleb.
And go right back to a T. Back to that T mouth for ta. But I don't think I will. Caleb Truetail showing the ta is going to be a little weird. I might just keep it on the ooh mouth. And what I'll do is I'll go back 1, grab this ooh mouth, and just make it slightly bigger. And push it in a little bit. That way, there's a bit more of an animation here. And I might even grab this one and push it out. Get more of an ooh. And I'm going to skip the ta. I'm just going to go straight to A. A. So, true ale. Because I'm not going to show all those consonants. It's going to make the mouth look weird. So I'm going to go right back up to like a big mouth, like 6. Right here on 45, he goes l for ale. So I'm going to go get that l mouth again. Tongue against the back of the teeth. Where are you at, you little bastard? La 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 la. Are you all the way up here? There you are. Frame 8.
And Caleb Truetail.
And it almost goes immediately to a suh. That's a clenched teeth. 3. Right here on 51, it goes to A for saves. And this is another one where I just want to pop it up super big. So 7 on both of these. And right about here, he's going to a V for a vz, vz. So I'm going to go ahead and put F6, F6, and get that bite lower lip mouth right here. Frame 11 for V. Frame 11. There we go.
And Caleb Truetail saves
And I might also have that V translate into this one as well. So I'll put this one on frame 11 as well. This one on frame 11 as well. Saves the right here. That's a biting your tongue mouth, which is frame 16. I might go ahead and set this to an open mouth with both teeth showing, frame 12. Now what I might do here is I might start to close his mouth a little bit. Let's just try a 3. I don't know if it's going to work. I just kind of feel like he'd close his mouth right about here. I'm going to do one more. I'm going to do his slightly closed mouth with the teeth showing. Now there's a little bit of animation here. And then day, A, right here. So we're going to go F6, F6, and super pop open, 7.
And Caleb Truetail saves the day again.
Right about here. Again. So I might go ahead and grab this F6, F6. I'm just going to push it down to his smallest open mouth, the frame 4. And because he kind of goes up a little bit right here, I might actually push this to 5. Right about frame 83, he goes to na. Again, nah. I want to emphasize that nah. So let's go to a right there. But I don't like it when a mouth doesn't change drastically. So I'm going to grab this nana mouth and just shrink it in a little bit. And then grab this noggin and maybe instead of 8, push it to like a 3. And then I only want to show the end for a moment. So F6 again. Grab this. And I'm just going to close his teeth. Oh, that's not good though. So I'm just going to set this to number 2.
And Caleb Truetail saves the day again.
And there you go. So that is what I like to call a preliminary blocking pass for lip syncing. I only focused on the most important sounds, the ones that I absolutely needed mouth shapes for to make this readable. If I play this right now...
And Caleb Truetail saves the day again.
If you can still get a sense that he's actually speaking those words, then you know you've succeeded. If you feel like there's something in there that doesn't quite feel right, then you got to go back into these little preliminary blocking ones and sort of tweak them a little bit. But once the preliminary blocking ones are done, now it's just a matter of going in and sort of in-betweening these mouths a bit more. So you pop it open right here.
And Caleb...
And so what I might do is I might take this. I know that there's going to be 2 in between. Right now it's set to frame 5. I might set it to frame 6 instead. That way I can go F6 right here and F6 on the noggin. Set this to frame 5 and this to frame 5. And then do another one, F6, F6. Go to frame 4 and frame 4. That way I have more room to pop it back down. You always want to pop the mouth open, but then take your time closing it. That's the secret to lip syncing. But I don't like how this is the same size again. So what I might do is shrink that down a bit. And then grab this one and push it to like a 3 right there. And then again, here, I need to probably put this to a frame 2. Oh, although I accidentally went on the wrong one here. So this should be 21. Oh, and there's a keyframe right here that's supposed to be here. Whoops. Yeah, so I might grab this mouth on this one and just make it a little bit bigger. So again, I want to go start going down. Maybe push this to 5. No, I'll keep it on 6. And then this one, same thing. F6, put it on a 6. What I might do here is I might go F6, F6, grab this, maybe push it to a 4. Yeah, 4 seems about right. And just to give myself a little bit more room, I might actually push this from a 6 to a 7. And then go F6 here, F6 here. Push this to a 6 and a 6. There we go. This is his S being held longer. So I might go to the other S view I have for frame 2. And I can just take my time with this one. F6 here. I'll just gotta go to frame 5. F6 here and go to frame 4. Same thing up here. F6 and go to frame 5. F6, go to frame 4.
Saves the day again. And Caleb Truetail saves the day again.
And same thing. What I might do here, though, is I might go F6 and F6, but I'm actually just going to leave this mouth on the same mouth and just shrink it down a little bit. I actually just kind of want it to hold on that big mouth for saves. Or day, sorry, day again. Day. And then right here, I'll go F6, F6, and then legitimately change it to like 5. And I might actually push this up a little bit and push this to a 6 instead. That way I have a little bit more wiggle room for pushing this back down. So F6, F6, change that to a 5, change that to a 5, F6, F6, change that to a 4, change that to a 4. And there we go. So let's kind of watch this.
And Caleb Truetail saves the day again.
Yeah.
And Caleb Truetail saves the day again. And Caleb Truetail saves the day again.
And there you have it.
Saves the day.
Lip syncing. And that is how I would go about doing facial animation.
And Caleb Truetail saves the day again. And Caleb Truetail saves the day again.
Any questions or concerns about facial animation?
Nope, I think it's pretty clear.
All right. I like to save this. I'm just going to call this version 2. And put this as, I don't know, tutorial. All right. And let's go ahead and close these up. Come back over here. I'm going to grab that new one that I just saved. Don't need the copy anymore. I only had that for a brief moment. And put this in my finished passes folder over here. So, I've got one last thing I would like to show you guys, because we now, as of this moment in this tutorial, we know how to key pose puppets to match rough drawings. We know how to jump inside of the head symbol and start doing some facial animation and doing that 2.5D and doing lip syncing. The next step is, how do we start to sort of tween between key poses? So I've got an animation here from our old Caleb promo. Let's get this open up here real fast. And let's watch this real fast.
You see? They're not that dangerous. They just need a little understanding.
So what we have here are some key poses. Just some big key pose passes.
You see?
No tweens.
They're not that dangerous. They just need a little understanding.
So this is a great spot to be in as an animator. You've taken the necessary amount of hours and hours and hours that it takes to pose the damn puppet and make it match them rough drawings. And now it's time to kind of go in and just start to put the tweens in there. Put those finishing touches. So I'm not going to in between the whole thing, because I know the tutorial's already at past the 2-hour mark. But I do want to at least maybe tween this very first part right here. So I've got 2 key poses. Let's turn off that animatic layer. Where's that animatic layer at? Where are you? Where are you at? Where? Oh, Flash is freezing on me. Even in tutorials, Flash will freeze. Okay, hang on. Wait, where are you at? There's nothing. Oh, wait, is it because I just need to stretch this out a little bit? Yes, it is. You son of a bitch. There you are. Okay. I want to go between these 2 keys. So, again, every animator has a different way of going about this. For example, if I were to turn on my onion skinning to kind of look at both of the key poses at the same time. I wonder if that would look better if I was inside. Not really. You know, I could maybe up here grab my brush tool, shrink my brush size a little bit, and start to sort of figure out how I want these to arc. Like maybe I want the hand to arc kind of like this. I want this one to arc kind of into there. I want his head to sort of arc into here. Or if I use the nose as a reference point, I want it to arc into there. That way everything kind of follows an arc as he moves back. I actually want his body to arc upwards like that. You know, his ear might arc upwards as well. It depends. Like, I could go in and sort of draw my arcs from reference points to reference points to kind of figure out how I want this to go down. For me, though, again, my style of animation is I just like winging it. I don't know, I'm a straight-ahead animator. So I'm just going to just start to kind of go from here to here. So how can I do this? I've got 2 poses in between here that I have to make out, because I want to animate on 2s. So let's go inside of the Caleb puppet. And again, whenever I'm going about to do something, I will absolutely put a keyframe on everything. And here's what I'm going to do. I already know that this particular shot, he's already in motion. So I'm not going to anticipate the movement because the anticipation was done in the previous shot. So I will, however, have a little bit of easing. So I'm going to turn on my onion skinning so I can see the final pose. And I'm going to start off with the head. Because again, that's the major action being played at here. So I'm going to push this in, kind of like this. I'm not going to put it directly in the middle, because I know there's a second pose I have to do here. So I'm just going to push it forward a little bit, kind of like that. And what I might even do is, as he's moving in, he might even be rotating his head slightly up into this position to create a nice upward arc into it. But I'm still going to move it up a little bit, kind of like that. All right. So I'm going to worry about the head first, because the head will guide the action. Then I'll go on this pose here, and I'm actually going to drag that pose back. So Alt drag, F6, and actually push this one in. And rotate it also down a bit. So that way, oh, it created 2 keyframes on accident here. Why did that happen? Shift F6. Oh, I put it on the wrong spot, that's why. So this comes down. I'm going to turn off snapping because that's annoying the crap out of me. And again, I want to rotate it slightly. So if I just worry about the head, it has a nice arc moving into that motion. Now that I have the head, I can now worry about everything else. So same dealio. I'm going to go ahead and I already know that he's supposed to be moving back a little bit here, right? So I'm going to grab these arms, move it back a little bit too, kind of like this. I want his shoulder to rise a little bit just because it feels nice. But I want a little bit of follow through, so I might go ahead and grab this arm here, put it over there at the rotational point, and sort of pivot it back down a little bit. I want there to be even more, to be honest with you. I'm actually going to grab this entire thing and turn on my onion skinning and push it back over to the hand's original starting point and only have it come back a little bit. Like that. I want there to be a bit of a lag. But I still want his shoulder to be moving, so I might rotate it this way to bend the arm a bit. But to make it even more apparent, I might also bend this one down and move this one a little over here and then bend it up. That way, there we go. That feels a little bit more natural. I want his shoulder attached to the same spot, but I wanted his hand pretty much in the same spot, which means I had to lower the elbow as a result to get what I wanted. And then simultaneously, I'm going to grab his torso, which is all of this. I want his neck as well. All of this. And I'm just going to rotate it up a little bit, kind of like that. That's it. I'm just doing it from there to there. There we go. Just a slight rotation. Nothing too complicated. I also want his sword to move back a bit and up. Kind of like that. Now I'm probably going to reanimate the tail later, but for now I'm just going to go ahead and rotate it down a bit. I just want there to be some movement there. There we go. Now what I could do is I could grab these legs, even though they're out of frame, I'm going to animate them anyways and move them back over here a little bit. There's just a bit of a motion here. And then same thing over here. Grab that and just slightly move that over. There we go. And then I want to do the same thing with this hand that I did with this one, where the arm's hand is lagging a little bit behind. So I'm going to grab this shape, and this shape. Move it a little bit over. Not too much. And then the hand itself, I also think I might rotate it this way. That way it creates a little bit of an overlap like this. There we go. Now I'm going to go to the next one. And again, it's just a continuation from what I already have. So F6, grab all of this, F6, and then I'll just continue moving. Now, I could do the same thing I did with the head. I could grab this final pose he has over here and just push this one down, but I don't want to. I like the extra challenge. So let's see here. F6, there we go. That way, if I change anything, it'll automatically be remembered. Always put down your keyframes. So I'm going to start with the torso this time, because I feel like this is a better way to do it. So grab that shape, and grab... Where are you at? I got to zoom in here. Grab the neck, grab that shape. There we go. So this is going to rotate up even further, and it might even stretch a little bit, to be honest with you, and skew. There we go. That's feeling pretty solid. Now you should always slide back and forth. Slide back and forth. You never know if it's working or not unless you actually check it out. Bum, bum, bum. Alright, so let's mess with this one now. So turn on my onion skinning. And oh, didn't mean to double click there. Grab this. Let's push it over to here. So it's kind of in the same spot. It's hugging a little bit more over there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate the whole thing a bit. Move it up a little bit. Turn off my onion skinning so I can wing it. Get a feel for this. But again, I want there to be a little bit of follow through on this hand. So I want it to hug this area a bit more. This is the final position it's going to have. I want there to be some overlap. So I might go ahead and grab both of these, push it even further back over to here. And then because of that, I'm going to have to tweak this and also rotate that into it like this. I want that elbow to stay connected. There. What's that look like? Yeah. I don't know, I might emphasize it even more. I really want that hand to just stay in place. I'll move this one to match. And move this to match. I think it'll give it a really nice popping sensation too, if I get it to look right. Yeah, that way there's a nice pop into this pose right here. I could even take this pose and just do a little bit of tweaking. Push it a little bit back down here to match it. Just because it's a key pose doesn't mean that I can't change my mind a little bit. There we go. Yeah. That's feeling pretty good. Okay. And then same thing with this arm he's got here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grab this piece and alt drag it back over to here. Same thing. I'm going to grab this arm, alt drag it back to replace the other arm. And same thing with the one that's right behind his head here. So I'll turn on outlines just so I can grab it real fast. Oh, it doesn't even matter. It's not even connected, so who cares? I'm not even going to bother animating it. Which means that for this one frame, I don't even need this. If I can cheat it. So now what I'll do is I'll just grab these and just move them down a little bit. But same thing. I kind of want it to do the same thing as the other hand. I want there to be a little bit more of a hug. Bend that up. Rotate this out. Yeah. That way it feels like his head arrives first and his hands arrive a beat after it. And then same thing. Grab the tail, rotate that down. Grab this leg. Just skew it in a little bit. And same thing here. So that way I have some in-betweens. Although this new tail over here is a little too much movement. So what I might do is I might grab this tail and just kind of stretch it out this way a little bit to sort of sync up over here a little bit better. And then maybe what I should do is tweak this tail to go in. Same thing here. Turn on my onion skinning just to make sure I'm doing this right. This tail is a little freaky. I need it to sort of fall down. There we go. Get a nice arc with the end of the tail. Yeah. And there we go. But I might also grab that and push that base of the tail down right there. And there you have it. So I've got some in-betweens between those two key poses. And then I'll just keep going. I'd use that exact same method for doing the in-betweens between these two poses. And the same method for doing in-betweens between these two poses. And then I let them sit there for a while. And then I do some quick in-betweens to go from this pose to this pose. And then from that pose to that pose. And that pose to that pose. And it's just grabbing the parts you've already painstakingly created. And you're just putting down some keys and you're moving them around. Sometimes you grab stuff from the pose after it and bring it backwards. Or sometimes you just start from the pose you're at and you move forwards. I find that the closer I get to the next key pose, the more I'm grabbing the parts from that next key pose and alt-dragging them backwards and working backwards. Because that's how you want to go pose to pose. Like, the idea is that you don't want to put a lot of time in the middle. You want it to go. You want it to have a bit of a snappy feeling to it. You want it to go from point A to point B. You don't want there to be a point A1, A2, A3, A4, B. You want it to have that feel of like maybe point A, point A1, point A2, point B1, point B2, point B3. Like, get into the B as soon as possible. So if I were to do the in-betweening for this pose to this pose, I'd probably have a couple in-betweens here. 1, 2, that was using this part, but then I'd go all the way to this pose and I'd drag backwards 1, 2, using this pose to sort of ease in from one to the other and create a nice snappy feeling going into it. And I would just keep doing that. In-betweening, in my opinion, is actually, for me, like the funnest part. It's the part where I can actually be a puppet animator. Everything up until this point has been a lot of or at least when you're posing the puppet over your rough drawings, it can sometimes feel like, why are we doing all this extra work? Like, wouldn't it be easier to just draw it and do it traditionally? Yeah, kind of. But having the puppet posed to the rough means that you don't have to do inking, you don't have to do cleaning, and when you get to this in-betweening stage, you don't have to constantly draw the character over and over again, because you're just taking those existing parts and just moving them around and creating the illusion of animation, all through just grabbing those existing parts and rotating them and skewing them and moving them around. You will rarely ever have to create any new parts in the process of in-betweening. If you keyed correctly, then it's just using those keys and just moving them around. Any questions or concerns from you guys?
Nope.
Y'all make sense? All right.
Everything makes complete sense, I think.
Yeah, awesome. And that is all we have for this tutorial. So I want to thank you guys for being here. Some cool shenanigans. What we will be having for our next tutorial, hopefully, is we'll be messing around with Photoshop and start learning a lot of cool things about Photoshop. So for those of you watching the recording, stay tuned. We'll have some of those coming up next. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here, everybody. I hope you learned a lot.